Hey guys, this is Bad Al's NFL 2K5Tool tutorial. You can get NFL 2K5 over the tool on GitHub. The URL address is up here in the bar. It just released an update over here. Go to releases, and here's the 10900 beta. And download the 7Z file. I've done that already. And let's open up the program and show you guys a little bit on how to use it. Go over the basics first. So if you want to open up a roster, you can use the load save button here and navigate to the file, or you can simply just drag and drop it in there. Listing the contents, use this button down here. And then for editing player attributes, double click on the text line for the player. And we can then change his face by clicking on his face like that. And then selecting a new face. Also, we could also use this right here. Here's this one. All these controls work with up and down arrows, and you can navigate through these controls with tab and shift tab. Shift tab navigates you backward, tab navigates you forward. And just like most Windows programs. And we've got next player, previous player buttons here. Let's see here, here's John Engelberger. We can change his name to Jeff Engelberger, and then we'll save our changes to the screen. When we click OK on this button right here, we don't make a change to the game save file that we opened. In this case, this one right here, the base roster _1. We just basically replace the text that's in here. If we want to save it, then we'll have to use the save button. And then we navigate to where we want to save it, and then we hit the save button here, and that will save it. We won't do that yet. We'll wait till later. Show you a few more features. There is a about or text commands that I really wanted to show off. We'll put this right over here for now to leave it as a reminder of what to go through. Covered the player editor. We can change what the tool lists in this view menu. Right now it's got the teams, appearance and attributes selected. Also free agents. Like if we look down at the bottom here, the last team is probably the Vikings. Yeah, but if we click the list contents again and scroll down to the bottom, yeah, now it's the free agents, the last thing that's listed. It's also nice to list the schedule. Oh my God. Well, let's try this again. Oh, since the roster doesn't have a schedule, I should probably disable that. Okay, that'll be a future improvement. So, like I said, we'll go through this stuff. Let's see. If we list schedule and then click list contents, continue. uncheck it. Okay, so it's not too bad. I should really disable it for roster though. Okay, there's a draft class. Do we have that too? The bottom here on this one. I do have a search feature. You can hit Control F in the text area. Oh, we do have it down here, a bunch of players down here. So we can edit these. Oh, Mel Kiper and Trey Wingo are in the, so is Chris Berman, that draft class. Perfect. Those, of course, aren't really players that you can draft. I guess that's just where they ended up putting them in the game save. So anyways, let's move on. Coaches, list coaches. Let's just list the coaches, not list the teams, not the draft class. This is about how I think you should edit the coaches. I did have a GUI plan for the coaches, but I think I had some issue and I didn't finish it. I don't remember what problem I ran into. I don't recommend editing more than just this for the coaches. So their name, the body. This goes with the body. We can only use coaches from the base file. I would get the base roster, use it as a reference for other coaches. The photo, you can look through those in the player editor to find out the right photo. I don't want to concentrate too much on coaches since it's kind of a limited selection of what we can edit with those guys right now in the tool. I have these text commands right here, which I really wanted to share with you guys. I'll leave it over here and work on the UI on this side. The first thing, the key. So when let's go to list players. So right now, basically we're listing all of the attributes of the players and they're all right up here. But we can use the key command to list only certain things. Like if we only wanted to, let's say I only really want to list out the guy's position, first name, last name, and what turtleneck he's wearing. So we'll take a line like this. Okay. And then there's a feature in the file menu, apply data without saving. That's going to basically process all of the text in this text area right here. And we just set the key. So now when we go to list contents, we're only printing out position, first name, last name, and what kind of turtleneck the guy is wearing. If we also wanted to say what photo and skin, let's first clear this so that this is the only thing we're processing. Yeah, so now we are only showing position, first name, last name, turtleneck, photo, and the guy's skin. If we double click on this now and try to edit it, it's actually kind of dicey. I don't necessarily recommend it. I have put in some effort to try not to make it crash. In previous versions, it did crash. I tried to make an effort not to, but it's still not 100% perfect. When you select somebody with the unknown photo, for some reason, there's an error that occurs. So I don't recommend using the player editor unless it's in the default state, which we can get it back to with a key equals nothing. That will reset the key. I often use that trick to get the player's photos. If there's a game save file that I like that someone put up on Operation Sports and they did a good job on matching the player photos, then I like to extract that information, and I can apply it, or you can apply it to another game save with another command that I'll show you in just a bit. Coach key works as the same way as this other key. However, coach editing is not in a great state right now. Set command. This is basically something that you can use to change arbitrary strings in the file. The best way to find a string to edit in the game save is to use the debug dialog. This is a feature that I used in debugging and trying to find stuff in the game save file. It's not terribly useful as anything for most people except for finding strings in the file, and we can find them by since this is a base file. Let's try to find St. Louis. So we just typed in this and we'll hit find string and save file. Okay, we found it. So we found 3 locations. These are addresses. 3 addresses where St. Louis is present. Okay. Now, since the Rams are no longer in St. Louis, we might want to have them be in LA. So if we want them to be in LA, or to, instead of St. Louis, it to show LA, we can basically just modify the string. This is the way that I would do it. Just type in LA like that. And then you'll see St. Louis is a much longer string. And if we just do space, 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 space. Okay, so now the strings are the same length. This one just has a bunch of spaces at the end. If you notice right here, this is the value. This is basically a big hex number that represents St. Louis. And if we wanted to say, make that say this LA right here, just copy it, put it up here. And if you see, this changed to, well, you can see it change as I type too. And so this is the string that we need to put in place of the St. Louis string. And so we can take this. And these are the 3 locations. So we'll type in set. It takes a hex address. Now, if we wanted to change LA or St. Louis to LA, to copy this. And we'll paste it into here. And now we can apply this. Oh, it gives me an error. It says that there's an error with this line right here. And it looks like I missed the closing parenthesis. So we'll apply that. All right. Now we just changed St. Louis to LA. So that's cool. So we covered the set command. Let's look at some of those other commands. Lookup and modify. This is what I was talking about earlier. If we look up and modify. Yeah, if we want to modify player data without specifying all of his data, like on those huge lines, without specifying all this stuff, if we just want to look up a player and then like change one of his attributes, we can use the lookup and modify mode. And here's an example usage of it. Look up and modify. If I were to take this, copy that, paste it into here. I'll get rid of these. Now, since Jimmy G, Nick Mullins, Tevin Coleman, and Matt Breida are not in this game save, it shouldn't do anything. But we can still run it. Over here in the command line, it did kind of say, okay, we just did a lookup modify thing. Now, so if they did appear in this game save that I'm working on, it basically would say, okay, I'm going to look for everyone named Jimmy Garoppolo, who's a quarterback, and I'm going to set his photo to 0481. Every quarterback whose name is Nick Mullins, I'm going to set it to 0799, his photo. When you're using this lookup and modify mode, you have to specify the position, the first name, and the last name. That's how we look them up. The other stuff that you specify on that line are the attributes that we'll set. And so that's how we do lookup and modify. Auto update depth chart. Doing a depth chart is a little tricky. I didn't want to have so much more text in the showing in the editor. So the depth chart isn't something that we really see. But if we go here, let's clear out the key. Yeah, so the way that I have the depth chart working for this auto update depth chart feature, we basically go for the team, the 49ers, in this case, Ahmad Plummer is the first player listed. And there's like a bunch of pointers to these players. And for the automatic update feature, I'll just go through when I'm setting the depth chart for cornerback, let's say, I'm going to go through the very first player and find the very first cornerback, and he's going to become my starting left corner. And the next player on the list is going to become my number 2 corner, and then so on and so forth. So when we get down here to quarterbacks, on the auto update depth chart feature, I'm going to say, okay, for my starting quarterback, it's the first one here, so it's going to be Tim Rattay. The second one, second string will be Ken Dorsey, Brandon Doman, and Cody Pickett. It so happens that in this game save, this is a base game save, that they are listed in that order anyway. But if you know about editing NFL 2K5, it doesn't have to be in that order, but that's just what I've chosen to sort of use the order as sort of the implicit depth chart. That is a command that we can do. If we put that command in here and then apply it, it will run that command. Also, it's available under Edit too. Auto update depth chart. Right there. there's another one that I like to use. Auto update PBP stands for play-by-play, and that just means, let's see, so for a mod plumber, the P by P is the PBP is the play-by-play name used by the announcers in game, and in this case, it's a mod plumbers. So it usually nowadays, if you hit that auto update PBP, a mod plumber isn't playing football anymore. If there was somebody named a mod plumber, it would find it and it would set that player PBP to a mod plumber so that in game the announcers would say his name. Let's load up a new one. Let's see. Roster. Okay, so here's a roster that I've sort of been working on with Lost Soul. So Richard Sherman. We don't obviously have his name isn't, there was no player named Richard Sherman back in 2005, but there is a Sherman that we can use. And so we use the PBP, the auto update found Sherman because it found his last name, and it applied it. Okay, auto update photo is basically the same thing. It's not as useful as it used to be because none of these players are really here anymore. It'll work for Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady though. This auto update auto update photo and the play-by-play, they're in files dictated by. Well, they're in these. Here's the photo index here. So if you wanted to, you could add players to this list and set their photos like this so that the auto update photo it would work for those that you want. But I just prefer to use the lookup and modify route that I mentioned earlier. Okay. Apply formula. This one I put in just recently. There is a global editor right here. And with this global editor, there's also some information here, right here in this, and there's this formula info button that you can use to figure out how to use this better. It's a little bit complex, but basically, if you wanted to edit players, edit a lot of players, this is sort of a selection and edit form. It only modifies one attribute at a time, but you can use it for multiple attributes, of course, on different operations. Let's say one of the things that I often do when I generate data for the Madden rosters is I put gloves on the quarterbacks, and I don't want gloves on my quarterbacks. So one thing I can do is I can say, okay, for quarterbacks, attribute, let's see here, left hand. Okay, left glove. Left glove. Set the left glove to none. Always. I could do that. And if I'm not sure who this is going to affect, and so I don't really want to apply it, I can hit this button, show affected players, and this will not modify anything in the save file. It'll just go through and find It'll just find the players, and then it'll show you what the results would be. So it found, you know, a bunch of these players right here, like Kyler Murray and Brent Hundley. And so just basically it should show all of the quarterbacks in the save. But let's say I only want to set the left glove to none when he's left-handed. We don't have very many left-handed quarterbacks in here. There might be more. Maybe we just didn't get them. But it looks like Tua is the only left-handed quarterback that we have in this file. Another interesting thing is over here on this command line that comes up with it, here are the formulas listed, and you can take this formula, you can copy it, and then you can paste it into here. And then you can process it that way. And then when you do that, it prints out basically all of the players that are affected instead of showing it in, we were in the global edit form before. Here, when you're in the global edit form, it'll show you the players. If you run that command from the input text field here, then it will just print out those affected players to the console like that. And so this global edit form, like this right here, is called the formula. This is when to apply it. And then you have positions that you can, the formula includes the positions too. So here is here is some more info on what you can use in those formulas. And so you can use this is the equality symbol. So hand equals left. We only found Kyler Murray. And then you can use an and. So this is basically kind of like query logic that we get to use. And yeah, if we were to use this, I'm not sure how many people we'd find. There's not that many left-handers. Let's see. Okay, Tua is the only one. Just because he's left-handed. If we say if his hand is right. Oh, we don't want, okay, and another thing, let's see. Let's say we didn't like the ratings that the person did in some roster we downloaded from Operation Sports. And we say, okay, well, I only want those guys at about 90%. So then we could say, oh, everyone in the game, I want to decrease their speed. I want them to be 90% of what they were. So we can say, okay, everybody, I just want them to be 90% of the speed that they're at. And so then if we go show affected players, then basically this shows you what their speed would be in that case, 90% of what their speed currently is. And it should be spit out down here too. So in the formula, here's here's where the formula specified. Look, it's got single quotes. It's in single quotes. And down here, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's still in single quotes. And then we have the second argument here is the attribute that we want to modify. And here's the new value. And this is an array of the positions that we are concerned with. In this case, down here, we had a lot of positions that we were concerned with. And down here, we say percent. There's another, let's see here. Yeah, so there's, in this case, there's percent. But we also have this option here. I'm just going to increment the years pro by 1. Okay, and then over here, there is the formula that's spit out right here too. So for everybody, I'm going to say, okay, always apply this formula to the years per attribute. There's a 1 here, and then there's this command right here. It says add. You could also put a -1 there, and it would decrease their years pro. You can use the add and the percent to attributes that are numbers. You should get errors if you would apply that to something like turtleneck or something like that. Okay, anyways, that's formulas. Is there anything else that I wanted to cover? This gives you some more examples of how to use formulas. And let's see. That is basically what I wanted to cover, I think. Let me see, anything else? Sort players, validate players. Let's see. Since the depth chart goes basically first guy is first string, second guy in that position is second string, we can use different criteria to sort them. Here are my default formulas that I've created for sorting the players on the roster. I haven't used this in a while, but if you wanted to pick out the most important quarterback characteristics, here's what I used. I just basically added all these together and divided by 4. That's my quarterback criteria. And these you can make your own, and you can then, if you were to say change this and hit OK. Let's see, how about divide by 3? Okay. And we go back in there. It did save that change. So you can edit them like that, and you can restore the default ones with this button right here. So then we go back in there. It's restored. And if we wanted to sort the players based on that criteria, basically that's what we did. And I don't know if you want to use that feature, maybe do, maybe don't. And then the next thing to do in that case would have been to apply the auto update depth chart. Okay. Let's see. Auto update special teams depth chart. I think that's a subset of the update depth chart. Auto update photo and PBP. When you do it from here, it is a text operation only. I believe it's also available in the debug dialog. Yeah, and it'll just update it without needing to operate on the text for that. Okay, saving the file. Just double click on it. No, it's the franchise, we want the roster. Okay. And that's pretty much it. All right, so I'll be on Operation Sports. I'll post this link to this video over there, and you can post more questions in the forums if you have questions about how to use the tool. All right, thanks guys, and I hope you enjoy using NFL 2K5 Tool.